Yesterday, as the nation was still in shock over the death of Raila Odinga, something else quietly unfolded at State House. President William Ruto signed 8 new bills into law. We are talking about 8 guys, all in one day. And not just any bills. These are laws that now touch the very core of our lives, our land, our digital space, our economy, our privacy, and even how we live and trade online. To many Kenyans, that timing felt off. I mean, as the country mourned one of its most consequential opposition leaders, the government was busy reshaping the nation's future. Guys, here are a couple of comments from you on X. Anne said, we shall revisit this. The fact that you've chosen to post this right now means those bills are suspect. You know very well Kenyans are distracted by Baba's death. We shall revisit. And then Kibet said, there's something mischievous about these bills, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Time will tell. First, they are being assented into law while everyone is focused on Raila. If you are paying attention to even the president's Twitter account or the X account, people are really waiting for a condolence message, right? But then, before that, while the news was still going on, while people were actually now getting wind of, Raila's passing, the first thing he did tweet about these bills that he had assented into law. But beyond the timing, maybe we are reading into it very much. Maybe this is something they had already organized and it had to go on so that they could attend to what would happen, the rest of the day. It was a busy day for them. So let's not read much into the timing. But we have to be honest. This is a story about control. The way these bills were signed, it's a story about control, power, and the kind of country we are slowly becoming. So today, let's go law by law, right? To see what truly works for us and what doesn't. The first one is the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Amendment Bill. It's now a law. It was introduced and proposed by Wajir East MP Aden Daud Mohamed. The government says it's meant to protect us from online fraud, SIM swap, data theft, cyberbullying, child exploitation, and terrorism. And let's be honest, Kenya's digital space is growing fast. You guys, you are witnessing the growth, right? We've seen real cyber threats, identity thefts, and cases where people lose their savings overnight. So yes, on paper, this law sounds like something a responsible government should pass. But this law also expands the state's authority in several ways. It allows them to decide what kind of online content is harmful or false. It gives them the right to block entire websites or social media pages, and it even allows them to demand takedowns or restrict access without court orders in some cases. In short, it gives the government a switch, a digital kill switch that can silence you first and then justify their actions later. This law doesn't just target criminals. It quietly gives government agencies expanded powers to take down online content, block access to websites, as we've said, and even monitor digital communications, all in the name of national security. And you see, that phrase, national security, has always been a clever disguise. It is the magic line or the magic words every government uses when they want more control without being questioned. The same law that can stop a hacker from stealing your data can also silence a whistleblower exposing corruption. The same power that is going to protect your child from online predators can also be used to arrest journalists, bloggers, or anyone who dares to speak truth to power. Groups like Article 19, a respected international human rights organization, have already warned that this bill threatens Kenya's constitutional right to freedom of expression. They said the language in the law is dangerously vague. Terms like false information, harmful content, and threat to public order have no clear definition. And in a country where dissent has always been punished, vague laws are about to become powerful weapons. Because when the law doesn't clearly define what is wrong, then power gets to decide what is wrong. And when power decides what is wrong, this stops being justice. This becomes control. I mean, think about it. If a Kenyan citizen exposes corruption on X, like the way we had the Adanis, etc., or even if a YouTuber questions a government project, that post could easily be labeled as harmful to public order. And once that label is applied, your content can be deleted, your account can be frozen, or your channel can actually be pulled down, all perfectly legal, of course, thanks to this law. So yes, the government can now say, we are protecting you from scammers. But what they don't say is they are also protecting themselves from you, from your truth, from your ability to mobilize, document, and expose. When Ruto's administration faced protests earlier last year and this year, activists and journalists were always being arrested under the existing Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act of 2018. Now, imagine those same arrests under a law that gives the state even broader powers. It is going to give them the faster triggers and fewer checks. This is definitely not about keeping us safe online. It's about keeping us quiet online. And look at the timing. As the country was busy mourning Raila Odinga, a man whose political life was built on the right to question power, a new law was signed that makes questioning power even riskier. That is not a coincidence. The truth is, this is not about cybercrime alone. This is about control. Control over narrative, over information, over truth itself. And when a government begins to control the story, it begins to control the people. And that is how democracies are dimmed. Not through coups, but through quite well-drafted laws that look harmless until they are used against you. And guys, the fine for this is something else. 10 years or 20 million fine. So I can see a lot of you will be thinking, should I tweet this or should I not? Should I tweet this or should I not? I don't know what you guys think about this law. I get it. There are so many crimes that needed to be curbed, but I think someone also saw an opportunity to bring in something else. So you guys feel protected, but they also take your voice from you. I don't know. You guys tell me on the comment section. But let's move into another law that quietly made its way to the president's desk. This is the privatization bill of 2025. And this one doesn't deal with, cyber or etc. It deals with ownership of what belongs to all of us. The bill was introduced by the National Treasury and Economic Planning Ministry and sponsored in Parliament by Kimani Ichung'wah, one of President Ruto's most trusted political allies. Kenya had already replaced the old Privatization Act of 2005 with a new framework in 2023. The 2025 bill reenacts and revises that framework after legal challenges and debate over Parliament's approval role. The earlier 2023 law removed Parliament's direct approval requirement. The 2025 law continues that shift with ongoing dispute about the extent of parliamentary oversight. Here is what this means in plain language, right? Before, if the government wanted to sell a public company, a public company, say Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Ports Authority, Mumias, or even parts of KICs, whatever public company you guys know, it needed Parliament's approval. Now, under this new law, the Treasury can privatize those assets without seeking Parliament's consent. No public debate, no televised sessions, no pushback from elected leaders. We think this is a good decision, this benefits the country, so let's do it. Everything can now be done through a board appointed by who? The president, right? And this board will be here to decide which public corporations to sell to who and at what price. Now, supporters say this law will make it easier for government to attract investment, reduce debt, and remove inefficiencies in struggling state corporations. They say privatization will bring in new capital and management expertise. And well, that sounds logical on paper. The dangers are enormous. Because when you remove public oversight, you open the door to what? Secret and silent deals. You give a small group of politically connected people the power to dispose of assets built with whose money? Taxpayers' money. And you remove the one institution that is supposed to represent the will of the people, Parliament, right? Guys, how is this going to work out? In short, the privatization bill, which is now a law, shifts the control of Kenya's wealth from public hands to private ones without public accountability. Critics, including economists, unions, and civil society groups, have warned that this is how national assets quietly disappear. They say Kenya's